Okay, try to keep this quick. So in the middle of doing the development for the Battlefield controller, something that came to mind was that a lot of this is going to come down to level design and how good the level design is. And getting things like the crowd to react to like if somebody starts shooting, the crowd should react to that. In order to get stuff like that facilitated, I was going to have to come back and think about how I build towns. Um, I'd already done some work in this area. It was mostly a sort of bare bones, sort of get something together that looks and feels like a little bit of a town area that players can navigate through, and so that I can get item shops up and running and all that stuff. So, 'cause I was basically doing the artwork as I was building the game mechanics. However, in the course of developing the Battlefield controller, I just came to a few realizations that I wanted to touch up on. And like what you're looking at right now is what's currently in the tech demo, and this will be in the tech demo for the time being. Um, I'll get to that here in a sec, but I've gone ahead and I've made some adjustments. For instance, we have waypoints in here for NPCs to walk around inside of the buildings. All the doorways, when the game loads up, all the doorways and all the buildings are networked with their pathfinding. So if an NPC is in one area, they'll have access to the doorways of every building, and they can go to any building they want. And then if they want to enter that building, they can do that. It's all random right now, but I imagine specific instructions could be given later down the line. And part of that specific instructions involves adding things to the houses as they are now to enable new behaviors. Uh, and that's where these come in. These are the exact same buildings you see over there, but with all the new visual updates that I've been slowly adding artwork for. Um, and they have some new rigging features as well. Excuse me. So first off, we have a logo here that shows us which faction currently owns the building. Um, that might change to like banners and stuff. We'll see. Um, yeah. So we've got some interior spaces in here that actually start to like feel like an interior. We've got our cabinets. Um, this is something. This is like right here is pretty important because this is all part of the optimization process. We've got our habitant spawn. So these buildings now have a NPC that they're associated with, and then when the player gets close to the town, the NPC that lives at this building gets activated, and when you're in town, you'll see them walking around. This also has, let's see here, my walkways. There we go. A hideaway. So I want to say right now, if somebody shoots a weapon off in town, all the NPCs are going to go into crouch mode and sprint speed. So they'll be moving around still like usual on their regular patrol paths, but they'll be crouched and sprinting at the same time. That way it looks like they're sort of panicking. Eventually, the NPCs will go back to their hideaway here, which is what this point here is. It tells us where the hideaway is. This is typically something that is off the normal walkway path, and for various reasons. But when they go into their hideaway, that's basically when they're trying to stay out of the way. Um, the idea here is that these The inhabitants are like the non-combatant inhabitants of these towns, and generally speaking, they have no participation in the overall events. They're just kind of along for the ride, but they will have a storytelling mechanic eventually, as well as like a role play and simulation mechanic. Um, so, and this also works for combat as well, because the rigging that's being added to the interiors is that it's all available to all of the combat NPCs. Uh, some of them may get stuck outside just like by random chance of like always picking another doorway to go to or something like that. But generally speaking, once they hit a doorway, they will have the option to go inside. And so if you get caught in a town between waves of troops dropping off and you have no more backup until the next wave arrives and you're hunkered down in a house, there's a chance one of the AI may come in here and start, looking around and catch you. So, yeah, it's all part of this. Um, this is too big to get out in the next update, though, so I'm leaving it out of the game map for now. This is what you'll get for the time being. When this is ready, you will see this. And for reference, this is what it looks like up close. This is the kind of proximity and density I'm going to be going for. Got little tufts of grass in here. I think I'm going to do away with some of the concrete. I think in some instances it makes sense to not have the concrete or like foundations. I think that makes sense for overhangs and cliffs and stuff like that. We'll definitely have them for dramatic effect as well, but generally speaking, I think we're going to put downs on dirt. Then of course there's this. There's going to be a while. This is a keep. This goes all the way back to the original, one of the original concepts for Frontiers Reach. It was this idea that when the Soul Confederacy originally colonized several planets, they built keeps as like the first structure. It was like a communal farm, homestead, defensive fortification thing. They could live in these things for months at a time without having to go outside. Um, and the general idea is that this one is still standing and a town has been built up around it. And so that's where the town of Sidonia is, basically. So what you're seeing in the game right now is, or in the tech demo right now, I should say, is not what you're going to get. So don't get too attached to it. Yeah, this is all looking really good so far. Obviously, I'm no AAA artist. I do the best I can with what resources I have. This is pretty close to what I've had in my head for the past few years. Pretty stoked about it. Pretty stoked about it indeed. Alright, later.